Hey there, and welcome to Authentically ADHD. I'm your host, Carmen, and I am so glad that you're here. This is a podcast where we get real about ADHD. No filters, no judgment, a safe space to explore and learn and grow. If you're here, it's because you want to take a deep dive into the world of ADHD, and trust me, we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. Now, you're probably wondering, why did I start this podcast? Well, in true ADHD fashion, it all started very impulsively. One day, I thought, I should start a podcast, especially with all this paperwork that I have and all these notes that I have trying to understand my own ADHD. And the next thing I knew, here I am, sharing thoughts with you. I don't know, 200, 100 episodes later? I don't know. I lose track of time. I'm time blind. Are you? Anyways, when you have ADHD, ideas come fast, and sometimes you just gotta roll with them. Honestly, this podcast was born out of my passion for understanding ADHD in a deeper way with the newest research. You see, pills don't teach skills. That's something I've learned over the years. Medication can help and it's a great tool to use, but true growth, that comes from knowledge, understanding, and actionable skills. And so that's what I want to share with you. Research-backed insights, practical tips, and lived experiences of someone who's been there. Now, a little bit about me. I'm not just a host of this podcast. I'm also an early childhood special education teacher, which means I've spent years understanding how children learn, grow, and thrive in ways that work for them, especially when they're neurodiverse. And I'm also a certified life and performance coach, guiding people to unlock their full potential in both their personal and professional lives. But here's the thing that makes me a little different. I'm also a late diagnosed ADHDer. And on top of that, I self-identify as being on the autism spectrum. So when I talk about ADHD, it's not just from a professional perspective, it's from lived experience, because I get it. I know what it's like to feel like your brain is running at full speed while everyone else is moving at a different pace, and you have instructions that are in Japanese and upside down, and everybody else got them in their own language. Throughout this podcast, I'll share all kinds of insights about navigating life with ADHD, from the everyday struggles to the strengths that we can celebrate. We'll talk about everything from time management to relationships to self-advocacy, and all about how to live authentically in a world that often asks us to be anything but. Whether you have ADHD yourself or you want to understand it better, you are in the right place. So, let's get started. Hi there, and welcome to a bonus episode of Authentically ADHD. There are two reasons why I decided to record this podcast. One is because I want to let you know about our new podcast platform. We are no longer recording and publishing with Spotify. So I used to use Spotify for podcasters. I have since moved over to Substack, and I absolutely love this app, you guys, and I'm putting content out there every day. So if you're looking for more things to read, and this app is super ADHD friendly because there is an AI voice that will read the articles to you. But if you're looking for more information, I've been posting over there quite a bit, longer articles that you can read or have read to you. And the other reason is because I've been seeing this pop up a lot in my clients online, and that is shame and guilt in ADHD and autism. So we're going to talk about understanding and managing that. And it's because shame and guilt are very heavy emotions that neurodivergent people know all too well. AuDHD, adults with co-occurring autism and ADHD, these feelings often run deep. Unlike simple embarrassment, shame goes to the core of who I am, while guilt is about what I did. For example, an AuDHD person may feel guilty for forgetting a friend's birthday, but feel shame about being the kind of person who forgets. As one ADHD expert explains, shame is about being the kind of person who forgets, or who we are, and guilt is about just forgetting, It's about what we do. In practice, someone might find themselves ruminating, I did that wrong, guilt, or I'm fundamentally flawed, which is shame. Because of our unique brain wiring, AuDHD brains tend to amplify these emotions. Over a lifetime of missed cues and unmet expectations, we may hear many messages like, you need to do better, or you're not good enough. One clinician noted that neurodivergent clients often come in anxious or depressed, and only later realize that the core issue is deep shame. Indeed, studies estimate that by age 10, a child with ADHD can receive over an order of 20,000 corrective messages. Yes, you heard that right, 20,000. When every mistake is met with a scolding or a sigh, it's no wonder that we eventually start to believe that we are different and flawed. This long history of criticism teaches us to hide our true selves and cover up our mistakes, just as the word shame originally meant, to hide or to cover. Let's talk about the brain wiring and the emotions and how emotional dysregulation pretty much turns up the volume on your feelings. A key neuroscience term is called emotional dysregulation. This means having trouble controlling or calming or naming one's emotions, right? So, the Cleveland Clinic likens it broken down like, okay, let's try that again. The Cleveland Clinic likens it to a broken volume knob on your feelings. Normally, we learn as children to turn our emotional volume down when needed, like taking deep breaths when angry. But in ADHD and autism, that control, that volume thing to go up and down, can be super weak or really disconnected from the actual volume that needs control. So, emotional signals become louder and harder to regulate. In other words, your brain's volume control doesn't work well, so small annoyances can feel like roaring crises. Emotional dysregulation often goes hand in hand with executive function, another common feature of ADHD. Executive functions are brain processes for planning, organizing, and impulse control. And when they're underactive, even simple tasks like getting to work on time or remembering an assignment become huge challenges. Frustrations from these failures can turn into really strong feelings. In fact, the Cleveland Clinic notes that emotional dysregulation is closely linked to executive dysfunction. When plans fall apart, executive issues, the emotions flare beyond reason, dysregulation. The result can be shame and guilt. You might think, I am bad at this and I let everyone down, even if the real issue is your brain wiring. Then there's impulsivity, acting before thinking. Yet another major factor in ADHD and often in AuDHD. It's like having a fast trigger reaction circuit. You respond immediately to things without the usual pause and think. This means we might say or do something out of strong emotion or distraction, then instantly regret it. The simple act of blurting out an answer in class, snapping at a friend in frustration, or interrupting someone can lead to intense guilt later on. As one neurodivergent blog explains, impulsivity makes it harder for individuals to pause and think before reacting emotionally, often resulting in explosive outbursts or rapid mood shifts. In plain terms, our feelings can flare up like wildfire before we have a chance to stomp the match out. Later, when the flames die down, we're left with ashes of shame and guilt. I shouldn't have done that. I'm a bad person. Because of this, tasks like waiting your turn, proofreading an email, or sitting still can, like on the subway, it can all feel like obstacles in your way. Every time an impulsive action backfires, say, sending an angry text, too quickly, it feeds the inner critic. Why can't you control yourself? You're a mess. And over time, this cultivates chronic shame and guilt around mistakes that in many cases were unintentional or out of the conscious control. Then there's the default mode network, when the brain wanders. In neuroscience, the default mode network, or DMN, is the brain's autopilot or daydreaming mode. It includes the areas involved in thinking about yourself, remembering the past, imagining the future, and mind wandering. Normally, the DMN quiets down when you switch to a demanding task, like solving a problem or focusing on a conversation. But in our brains, however, the DMN can usually stay on, even when we're supposed to be concentrating. One psychologist describes the DMN as a more active in those of us who have ADHD, almost like a hidden radio station that never turns off. In practical terms, that means that while you're trying to do work or socialize, the part of your brain that still drifts into daydreams or self-talk is still on. You might catch your mind replaying yesterday's mistake or worrying about what someone said hours ago. In fact, researchers found that sometimes predict an ADHD mistake several seconds before it happens by watching for a surge in DMN activity. That's crazy. Because DMN is centered on the self, its overactivity often fuels rumination, the habit of replaying events in your head. You might lie awake at night mentally beating yourself up over something you did or did not do, wondering, why am I so stupid? This self-focused loop naturally breeds shame and guilt. The DMN is literally encouraging you to think of yourself all the time, and those thoughts are negative. It's like the brain is running on a negative self-talk on a loop. As one practitioner puts it, ADHD is one part of the brain is often wandering and exploring larger and more internal issues. While that wandering brain keeps returning to our flaws or failures, our shame grows. Then there's rejection sensitivity, feeling every critique and feedback. This is another concept that's common among ADHD. And rejection sensitivity, or RSD, isn't an official medical diagnosis, but it's useful for the term of intense emotional pain that one can feel from perceived rejection or criticism. Imagine someone is rejecting or judging you at the slightest hint, and that gut punch of, they just really hate me. People with RSD often report strong emotional reactions to real or perceived rejection. Essentially, intense emotional pain when they think that they've let others down. For example, a gentle suggestion or a delayed reply can instantly feel like betrayal. One mental health source describes it as embarrassment or shame when given feedback, and fearing judgment even in everyday activities. In AuDHD, where social differences and past rejections are common, RSD can trigger shame that feels overwhelming. An autistic adult may take a friend's neutral comment and spiral into, I'm the worst friend and nobody cares about me. Autistic traits like difficulty reading social cues and alexithymia, trouble identifying one's own emotions, can make this worse. If you can't easily label your feelings of hurt, they blur into a vague sense of failure or defect. In short, AuDHD, the brain, is wired to feel things very deeply. Emotions rise quickly, and actions jump out fast, and self-critique lingers, and every social situation can feel like crushing rejection. Each one of these things adds fuel to a cycle of shame and guilt that just keeps you messing up. How these traits fuel chronic shame and guilt. These neurological factors don't operate in isolation. They actually combine themselves to make a perfect storm of shame and guilt. Because executive functions lag behind, we fail at tasks that normal brains handle easily. Because impulsivity throws tantrums or blurts out hurtful words, we harm people unintentionally because the DMN's autopilot keeps replaying those mistakes on auto loop. We can't let go of them, and when RSD kicks in, forget it. Even small errors feel like big, huge, personal rejections. And over time, AuDHD person often ends up feeling fundamentally broken or bad inside. So, for instance, imagine carrying an invisible backpack of shame. Every time you forget a deadline, feel distracted in a meeting, or misplace a social norm or misunderstand, you can mentally stuff another rock into your backpack. One therapist notes that clients often describe that core of low self-worth hidden beneath anxiety and depression. Eventually, you might start believing those negative messages, thinking, I can't do anything right. At the worst, you may hide in anger to cover the shame or shut down and give up. An ADHD clinician explains that shame can make someone lash out at critiques out of rage or drive them into perfectionism. I must be perfect or I will get shamed. Or after too many defeats, you might just simply quit trying at all. Constantly feeling like you failed again is exhausting. And as one neurodivergent coach writes, shame lurks in the shadows, waits and pounces whenever we deviate from what society deems as quote-unquote normal. In those moments, you might think, why am I so broken? Why can't I just do this? And that internal voice often echoes the blame and shame you've heard from others, lazy, stupid, inadequate. We carry years of those echoes, and the cycle makes shame and guilt feel chronic. Familiar companions, even on a good day. Society's role, expectations, masking, and stigma. It's important to remember that the world around us isn't built for ADHD brains. Societal expectations and misunderstandings play a huge role in reinforcing shame. Typical social norms, quiet classrooms, linear work schedules, and small talk assume neurotypical thinking. One coach points out that when neurodivergent people find themselves at odds with societal norms and expectations, it breeds a sense of alienation and shame. In other words, society is the one excluding you, not you being inherently wrong. Because of this, many AuDHD individuals engage in masking or camouflaging, hiding autistic or ADHD traits to appear more quote-unquote typical. Research shows that autistic people especially learn to suppress or mimic behaviors to avoid negative attention. For example, you might sit through a meeting trying desperately to look engaged or force yourself to make eye contact while panicking inside. Masking can make situations tolerable in the moment, but it comes at a cost. Constantly acting out this persona is draining, and it tells your brain, who I really am is not acceptable. Indeed, studies describe camouflaging as a normalizing artifice, right? So literally turning the stigma of autism into a mask. The shame of hiding oneself is real. A narrative review found in more stigma leads to more camouflaging. This masking can have a deleterious effect on your mental health and self-worth. That internalized stigma is another silent driver of shame. While society treats autistic or ADHD traits as bad, we gradually absorb that judgment. Many autistic adults report feeling worthless, ashamed, because they have unconsciously taken on about 15% of the things that society's labeled as negative. And we endorse moderate to severe felt stigma, that sense of internalized disgrace. We hear phrases like, he's just lazy, about ourselves, and even these labels are unfair. One review notes that self-stigma often includes the feeling of shame about one's own identity. This can make it hard to even embrace who we are. In short, the societal narrative and even well-meaning but misguided advice often frames AuDHD challenges as moral or personal failings. For example, Attitude Magazine urges readers to drop the moral framework of ADHD and view it as neurologically instead. Keeping these distinctions in mind is key. When we realize that ADHD and autism are rooted in brain differences and not badness, some kind of self-blame, and it loses its power. One expert wrote, ADHD as supported by real science, so don't view it as a personal fault. Shifting from that perspective of I'm failing to my brain works differently can break that chain of shame. Next, we're going to get into some strategies to manage shame and guilt, but first, a word from our sponsors and a little surprise for you. Hi, this is a disclaimer that I am a early childhood special education teacher. I am a certified life and performance coach, and I am a podcaster. All right, I am not a medical doctor, and none of this information should be used in supplement of a medical professional and or therapy. Hey there. If you're looking for a game changer in managing your ADHD, let me tell you about something that's made a huge impact on my life. Focused, the Adult ADHD Group Coaching Program by Kristen Carter. This isn't just another program, it's a community, it's a roadmap, it's a lifeline for adults with ADHD who want to thrive. Inside of Focus, you'll find weekly coaching calls with Kristen packed with actionable insights, a supportive community of adults who get it. They get what it's like to live with ADHD. You'll get tools and strategies that actually work for our brains. No fluff, just real results. I've been a part of Focus for over a year, and let me tell you, it's where I've learned so much of what I share with you on Authentically ADHD. It's been a game changer for me, and I think it could be for you too. And here's the best part. If you use my link to join, we both save money. It's a win-win. So if you've been looking for the right ADHD support, this is your sign to check it out. Head to the link in my show notes to learn more and sign up. Let's thrive together with tools and support that we need to succeed. Are you also loving what we're doing on Authentically ADHD but want to take your experience to the next level? Well, I have got something for you. Introducing the Authentically ADHD Patreon, your VIP pass to the ultimate ADHD support hub. As a Patreon member, you'll unlock exclusive perks like early access to every single episode, hear it before anyone else does, a treasure trove of resources that I've made, tools, guides, and worksheets to help you thrive in everyday aspects of life, direct coaching opportunities with me designed to help you harness your ADHD powers, and the cherry on top, an incredible community of like-minded individuals who just get it. You're not alone on this journey, and together we can be unstoppable. By joining Patreon, you're not just supporting the podcast, you're fueling a movement. Together, we're breaking stigmas, embracing authenticity, and creating a world where ADHD is seen as a strength and not just a struggle. So what are you waiting for? Head over to patreon.com/authenticallyaDHD and join the family today. Let's keep growing, thriving, and showing up authentically together. Hope to see you over there. Back to the show. Hey there, my ADHD tribe. I have an offer for you. Do you ever feel like you're constantly juggling, but somehow always dropping the ball? You're not alone. We've all been there. I struggle still to manage time, stay organized, and to keep track of the never-ending to-do list. I'm Carmen, and I get it. Trust me, that's why I have created Thriving Authentically with ADHD, Executive Functions and Coping Strategies. It's a course designed to help you take control of your ADHD brain instead of letting it control you. But here's the kicker. It's not just a course. It's a journey. For only $25, you'll get access to about 3 hours of exclusive ADHD-friendly content that breaks down the executive functions in simple terms and explains why our ADHD brain works in the way that it does. And most executive functions, most importantly, it'll teach you practical, research-backed coping strategies that you can start using today. From working memory struggles to time blindness to emotional regulation, we cover it all. Plus, you'll get a workbook in your email packed with interactive exercises to help you reflect on your own ADHD journey, track your progress, and apply what you've learned at your own pace. But that's not all. You also will get 2 personalized coaching sessions where we can dive into your specific challenges and create strategies that work for you. No more one-size-fits-all solutions, just real, authentic, tailored support. And the best part, you get all this for just $25. That's less than a cost of a meal out. Plus, with my proven strategies, you can start improving your executive function skills in no time. Imagine finally understanding your ADHD brain and learning how to thrive and not just survive. Don't wait too long. The spots are limited. Sign up today and let's get started on your journey to thriving authentically with ADHD. All right, now let's jump into some strategies to help manage shame and guilt. Although shame and guilt can feel overwhelming, these are practical, evidence-informed steps that help lighten their hold. Importantly, these strategies are not about toxic positivity or ignoring the challenges. They are about realistic self-care and understanding. So here are some reader-friendly approaches. Mindfulness and grounding techniques. Practices like deep breathing, body scans, or grounding exercises can help calm the emotional volume knob. So when you start spiraling into shame, pause and take a few mindful breaths. It can really interrupt that panic. As one ADHD resource notes, focusing on the breath or engaging in the five senses can help individuals regain control when emotions start to feel overwhelming. Even simple grounding, such as noticing 5 things you can see or touch, brings you back to the present, breaking that loop of negative thoughts. Apps or guided meditations designed for ADHD and autism can be helpful tools here too. Then there's cognitive reframing, CBT style. Therapy or self-talk strategies can challenge harsh self-judgments, as cognitive behavioral approaches teach you to question thoughts like, I always mess up, and replace them with something more balanced. For example, when your inner critic says, I'm a failure, you might counter that with facts. Actually, I've done many things well. I'm struggling here because of insert brain research here. Not because I'm worthless. Studies show that CBT techniques can reduce shame by changing the thought patterns that go on in your brain. One ADHD coach recommends breaking the moral diagnosis and stop viewing these difficulties as personal faults and see them as neurological challenges. Focusing on facts, time management issues, or sensory overload not being character flaws weakens shame's grip. Also, Brené Brown says speaking shame out loud silences it. So have some self-compassion. Treat yourself kindly as you would a friend. Instead of beating yourself up, ask, what could I need right now? Or what advice would I give someone that I care about? Psychologists emphasize that self-compassion involves treating yourself with care and understanding instead of harsh judgment. For instance, one expert suggests imagining your inner critic as a hurt 10-year-old and offering a Band-Aid or a hug rather than pouring vinegar on the wound. Normalize your experience. Remind yourself that everyone makes mistakes. And as one resource puts it, everyone is wired uniquely. And what does normal even mean? Understanding that no one is truly perfect or normal can reduce the shame of being different. Strength-based perspectives. Shift your focus to your positive traits. Every neurodivergent person has strengths that shine through their differences. Maybe you're extremely creative, determined, or think outside the box. Emphasize these. For example, ADHD often brings high energy, sometimes creativity, and original thinking. One article advises, when shame arises, take stock of your talents and strengths. By regularly acknowledging what you do well, even celebrating those small wins, you build a reservoir of self-worth that counterbalances the shame. So when you catch yourself thinking, I'm lazy, you can reframe. Actually, I'm good at this, and I manage the challenges as well as I can. Expect respect and fairness in how people treat you based on those strengths. Set healthy boundaries, like letting a boss know that you need support or reminders or quiet workspaces. It also reinforces that you deserve support and not blame. Then there's your lifestyle structure. Stable routines can reduce the chaos that feeds shame. Creating consistent schedules, using alarms and planners, and giving yourself extra time for transition can prevent last-minute scrambles. The ADHD Direct site notes that providing information about changes in advance and having a visual schedule can lessen anxiety and outbursts. Likewise, basic self-care, like getting enough sleep, regular meals, and exercise, strengthens your brain's resilience. As one source puts it, a relaxed parasympathetic nervous system via good rest and nutrition helps pause and have time to think before acting. In practical terms, get, 7 to 9 hours of sleep, try to eat a balanced meals on time and on schedule, and move your body. A short walk or a stretch can do wonders. This can stabilize your mood and your energy. Community and validation. this is important. You are not alone. Connecting with other people and people who understand, like friends or family or peer groups, can be powerful. And they can be a powerful antidote to shame. This might mean joining an AuDHD support group, chatting with fellow neurodivergents online, or finding a therapist who gets it. Empathy from others reminds us that many people share your struggles. For example, one advice article encourages joining a community of people who have ADHD and emphasizes that everyone is wired uniquely. Hearing peers say that I feel that way too, it can normalize your feelings. Ask me how I know. Joining or hearing, asking for clarification, right? So when you need clarification, if you think someone was criticizing you, consider checking in. A guide on RSD suggests that asking for context in confusing interactions can prevent unnecessary shame. Validation also comes from self-advocacy. Telling a friend or coworker, I have autism and or ADHD, so sometimes it's hard for me to understand when you're being sarcastic, or I might get upset at something you say and it's not on purpose. It can clear up misunderstandings and reduce that self-blame. Last but certainly not least, another disclaimer. Professional support. Consider seeking help from a therapist or coaches who specialize in ADHD and autism. I do fall under that second one. Cognitive behavioral therapy, acceptance, commitment therapy, or compassion-focused therapy can all address shame and self-criticism. Research suggests that improving self-compassion through therapy can reduce internalized stigma in autistic adults. Even talking to a savvy counselor about your specific experiences, like ongoing rejection sensitivity or perfectionism, can guide you through personal strategies. And if your shame has led you to anxiety or depression, therapy or medications can help relieve those layers, giving you more space to heal that core shame. Talking with a coach and building self-personalized goals can really, really help you feel validated and supported through your journey. Each step is about treating your brain with understanding and respect. There's no one-size-fits-all cure, but combining these strategies bit by bit can make a big difference. For example, you might start practicing a daily mindfulness break, then gradually add a gratitude journal for your strengths, and finally join an ADHD support forum. Over time, these efforts will help you rewrite your internal narrative from I am broken to I am human and learning and I'm growing. As one self-help source advises, focus from where you've come from and what's going well instead of getting stuck on past mistakes. Above all, remember that AuDHD brains have many strengths. The very traits that contribute to shame, intense focus, deep empathy, and yes, even if it doesn't always feel like it, creativity and persistence can be reframed as gifts, celebrated figures, like the Temple Grandin for autism. Remind us that neurodivergent minds add value. Try adopting a growth mindset. View mistakes as learning opportunities. As one guide puts it, people are supposed to get things wrong to learn, to pivot, and keep growing. So instead of asking yourself, what's wrong with me? Ask yourself, what can I learn here? Shame and guilt are painful, but they're not a destiny. Understanding your brain is power. It shows us that struggles are rooted in how neurodivergent minds work. It's not broken. It's not your character. It's your brain. With awareness, self-kindness, and support, you can gradually ease those feelings. Community validation is key. As one therapist notes, simply unpacking shame and seeing it as a shared neurodivergent experience is a profound first step. It's also helpful to remember that even when your brain throws hard days at you, it also enables unique achievements. The path forward is not about erasing autism or ADHD, but finding strategies that let you fully live within them. Celebrate every small victory, completing a task on time, handling criticism without spiraling, speaking up about your needs, and build on it. Each success chips away at the weight of shame. You are worthy, and your neurodivergent brain is not an indictment of your worth. By combining science-backed techniques with compassion and community, you can rewrite the story. Instead of being trapped by shame and guilt, you can move toward acceptance and even pride in who you are. This isn't empty positivity or toxic positivity. It's realistic hope built on knowledge and support. AuDHD individuals often feel intense shame and guilt because of how our brains process emotions and self-image. Emotional dysregulation, a brain-based difficulty, makes emotions feel overwhelming. All the other things really, really attach themselves on, and I hope that this small bonus episode helped you to turn that shame around. And maybe invited you to come join my community or go check out that course to get your executive functions under control and start thriving with ADHD. That's all I have for now. Stay authentic, and we will talk soon.